Jamaica has had a long and painful history with the IMF over many decades, and it's been pretty much all downhill from the get-go. After independence in 1962, Jamaica had its first encounter with the IMF in 1963. At that point, Jamaica signed a standby arrangement, SBA, for roughly $28 million at the time, with an expiration date the following year of June 1964. Jamaica reportedly drew down only part of this SBA facility to support its balance of payments and stabilize its newly independent economy. This IMF arrangement was designed to help stabilize reserves, support the Jamaican dollar, which at that stage was pegged to the pound sterling, and promote fiscal discipline. Little did Jamaicans know, but this first arrangement in 1963 marked the beginning of a long, torturous relationship between Jamaica and the IMF, and one that has evolved through some 18 arrangements up until 2025. In the 1970s, Jamaica stood at a crossroads. Newly independent, proud, and full of promise, the country was trying to find its economic identity. Prime Minister Manley dreamed of the equality and self-reliance of democratic socialism, but the global winds were blowing cold. Oil prices soared, exports fell, and Jamaica began to borrow heavily to keep the economy moving. When the money ran out, the IMF arrived with loans but with strings attached. In exchange for help, Jamaica had to cut spending, devalue its currency, and open its markets. These were the years of austerity. Schools lost funding, hospitals struggled, the cost of living soared while wages froze. The loans were supposed to bring stability. Instead, they trapped Jamaica in a cycle: borrow, repay, and borrow again. By the 1990s, debt payments consumed more than half the government's income. Politicians came and went, but the debt remained like a quiet, unshakable burden passed from one generation to the next. Still, Jamaica endured. Through creativity, resilience, and sheer survival instinct, people found ways to hustle, build, and live. Then, in the 2010s, came a turning point. Facing economic crisis once again, Jamaica agreed to a new IMF program, this time with a national consensus. Painful reforms followed, but slowly, they worked. Inflation fell, growth returned. Debt began to shrink, and it seems Jamaica has finally solved the IMF problem, this time, hopefully for good. The island had weathered the storm and emerged with lessons learned the hard way: discipline, accountability, and the cost of dependence. Jamaica now looked to be on the home straight, with everything pointing in the right direction. But the IMF years sure tested Jamaica's strength and spirit. They showed how global systems can shape small nations, and how, despite the odds, those nations can still rise. This is not just a story about money, it's a story about endurance and the unbreakable will of the Jamaican people. Is Jamaica's long relationship with the IMF finally coming to an end, with no reunions in the future? Jamaicans young and old sure hope that is the case. The IMF is a lender of last resort, so when you need them, that means you have big problems. Hopefully, Jamaica has grown up enough now to manage the finances without ever needing more money from the IMF again. Ironically, the IMF comes in to help, but they always look and feel like the bad guys, when in fact the failures took place long before they arrive. Jamaica, no more IMF loans, please. The costs are too high.